It starts like any other morning in a world designed for perfection, where even the air feels curated. 7:30 sharp, the exact moment the script demands I wake up and begin my role. Today isn't just another date on the calendar, it is the most important day of the story. I look incredible. But in this world, beauty isn't a gift, it's a requirement for the lead role. The whispers follow me the moment I step outside. In this reality, the extras exist only to admire the protagonist. I've grown used to the constant attention. It's the way this world is programmed to react to me. Every bus stop, every street corner, it's all a stage, and I am the undisputed star. A gentle smile is all it takes to keep the world spinning in my favor. It's almost too easy. These descriptions of me, stunning, angelic, out of this world, they aren't just compliments, they're lines from a book. I am Charon Un, the heroine of the hit romance novel, I'll Love You Every Day. And I know exactly how my story ends. It was just a book I picked up one day, a simple escape from a life that felt like a dead end. I don't know how I ended up inside these pages, but I have no intention of leaving. Why would I? In this world, my path is clear. There are no worries, no failures, and no surprises. Even a moment of danger is nothing more than a plot device, a way to move the narrative forward. A sudden shadow, the roar of an engine. It's all perfectly timed for the hero's entrance. Right on cue, a hand reaches out to save me from the path of destruction. The world blurs as I'm pulled into safety, the scripted drama playing out exactly as it should. This is the moment the audience has been waiting for, the hero and the heroine finally in each other's arms. He scolds me for being careless, his voice full of the quiet concern that defines his character. I look up at him, knowing that my future is secure as long as I follow the pages. Meet Jae-ha-yu, the male protagonist, the boy destined to be mine forever. I play my part, offering a shy thanks while secretly anticipating the bliss that's coming. It's a perfect loop of excitement and romance leading toward my guaranteed happy ending. I can't help but gloat. My life is about to become a dream while everyone else is stuck in reality. Today is the day we stop flirting and start our forever. I can feel it in the air. He stops me, his gaze lingering. The script is moving toward the music room at lunch. There's a blush on his face. It's the classic sign. The confession is imminent. I hide my smile, acting as if I don't already know every word he's about to say. School continues, a mere backdrop for the drama that's about to unfold between the leads. The hallways are filled with murmurs and laughter, but to me, the other students are just faceless shadows. I sit in class, surrounded by an aura of flowers and light, completely detached from the ordinary world. I can't stop daydreaming about the music room, the setting, the lighting. It's going to be iconic. Even when a teacher asks for a favor, it feels like a minor side quest I have to tolerate. One of the faceless extras needs help, a distraction for my main objective. They slide out of the room, their problems irrelevant to the protagonist of this story. I have no interest in the lives of background characters. They are just noise in my perfect melody. The bell finally rings. Lunchtime. The moment of truth has arrived. I have to be there on time. Any deviation could risk the happy ending I've worked so hard for. My footsteps echo in the hall. I'm walking toward a destiny that was written long ago. I remember my old life, the shadows, the rejection, the constant feeling of being an extra in someone else's story. The world I left behind was cruel and hopeless, a place where miracles never happened. I worked myself to the bone just to be ignored, a faceless employee in a sea of identical suits. I saw others succeed while I failed, my health and my spirit slowly withering away. In that world, I was just a block in a tower, easily replaced and entirely forgotten. But here, I am special. Here, I am the only one who matters. I won't let go of this. I reach the door of the music room. This is it, the culmination of all my desires. Jeha is waiting. He looks even more handsome in the soft light of the afternoon. I step inside, the door sliding shut behind me. The stage is set. He's standing there, silent. I wait for the words that will change my life forever. Suddenly, things feel different. He's not following the script. This isn't a confession. He grabs me, but his grip is cold. He's pulling me close, but not in the way a lover should. I try to laugh it off, but my heart is racing. Something is very, very wrong. He's holding me from behind, his breathing heavy and ragged against my neck. This wasn't in the book. The confession was supposed to be sweet, gentle, and perfect. I turn my head, and my blood turns to ice. That isn't Jeha. Those red eyes, that rotting skin. He lunges at me, his jaw snapping. The male lead is a monster. The romance is dead. I scramble back, my eyes landing on the only weapon in the room, a fire extinguisher. The sound of his skull cracking against the metal is sickeningly real. This isn't a story anymore. He falls to the floor with a thud. I'm shaking, gasping for air, staring at the thing that was supposed to love me. I spray the foam, a desperate attempt to keep the nightmare at bay as he starts to rise again. He groans, a sound that no human could ever make. The world I loved is shattering. Then the intercom crackles to life. A voice screams about a virus, an emergency, a school under attack. I look out into the hallway and see the truth. The shadows have faces now, and they are covered in blood. The rule of the world has changed. Survival is the only plot that matters now. I hear the footsteps. Thousands of them. They are coming for the protagonist. The hallways are a labyrinth of shadows and screams. There is no script to follow here. I see my classmates, their eyes glowing red, their hunger driving them toward anything that moves. I run faster than I ever thought possible, my lungs burning, my heart hammering against my ribs. Every corner is a trap, every shadow is a killer. The dream has become a blood-soaked nightmare. I race past the classrooms, the scenes of my supposed happy ending, now stages for a massacre. I turn, but they are everywhere. The extras are finally getting their revenge on the lead. I see a hand reach for me in the reflection of my own eye. It's over. They swarm me, their cold, gray hands tearing at my clothes, pulling me down into the dark. I stagger, my strength failing as the first bite sinks into my flesh. The last thing I see is a mouthful of teeth, and then nothing but red. I bolt upright, gasping for air. My heart is still racing, the phantom pain of the bite lingering on my skin. The sun is shining. The room is quiet. I'm in my bed. Was it all just a dream? The curtains flutter in the breeze. Everything is exactly as it should be. I look at the calendar. It's the same day, the most important day of the story. But the fear won't leave me. My body remembers the horror even if my eyes can't see it yet. I raise my hand to my neck, expecting to feel the wound, to see the blood. My skin is clear. There's no mark, no sign of the monster that tore me apart. I stare at my hand, the realization slowly sinking in. The world didn't end. It reset. I'm trapped. Not just in a book, but in a loop of suffering that has only just begun. The clock clicks, 7:30. The day is starting all over again. And this time, I know the truth. The music room was always intended to be the setting for the climax of my story. A spring breeze, a pounding heart, and the boy I was destined to love finally speaking his truth. It was everything a girl in a romance novel could ever want. Pure, sweet, and perfect. But the words, "I like you," shouldn't be written in blood, and they shouldn't end with a scream. The sweet dream ends with the heavy sound of a body hitting the floor, shattering the silence. My perfect world is being stained by a darkness the author never intended, a visceral horror I can't escape. I wake up gasping, the phantom smell of iron still clogging my lungs, and my heart hammering against my ribs. 7:30 a.m. Again. The clock is a cruel reminder that time has stopped moving forward, trapped in a loop. Today was supposed to be the most important day of my life, but now it's just a recurring nightmare. I reach out to stop the noise, but I can't stop the memory of what happened in the previous cycle. I'm trapped, not just in this room, but in a glitching reality that is actively trying to kill me. This isn't how the story's supposed to go. This isn't the life I was promised when I was reincarnated. I became the female lead of I'll Love You Every Day, a run-of-the-mill romance novel where the biggest drama was supposed to be a first kiss. I was living my best life according to the plot, flirting with Jiha, my perfect, handsome leading man. Everything was following the script perfectly until today. The day the world rules changed, the day of the confession, the day the background characters suddenly turned into monsters and tore my world apart.
Zombies in a high school romance? It's an impossible twist that shouldn't exist in this genre. I read this book 1,000 times in my past life, and there were no monsters hiding in the margins. I checked the ebook on my phone, desperately searching for any change in the text, but the words remain the same. A turning point in her life? The narration feels like a sick joke when the world is ending. If the book hasn't changed, then the world itself is broken, and I'm the only one who knows it. I need to stay alive, but how do you survive when the very fabric of your reality has turned hostile? I thought I was clever. If school is where the zombies appear, I'll simply stay home and wait it out. But the world won't let me hide. If the zombies don't get me, a random burglar will find his way in. One mistake, and it's over. My first attempt to hide ended with a blade and another reset. The second time, I locked the door, only for a light bulb to fall and end me instantly. It's like the world is punishing my cowardice. Third try, an exploding microwave. The universe is actively correcting my deviations from the script with lethal force. Fourth try, food poisoning. Even the most mundane choices are now traps set by a vengeful plot. By the fifth try, I realized that staying home was just another way to die. There is no safe harbor. Every death brings me back to this exact moment. The same morning light, the same 7:30 a.m. The phantom pain of every death lingers on my skin, a map of failures I can't forget. I can't stay home. If I want to break this cycle, I have to go to school and face the source of the chaos. I see him at the crosswalk, Jeha, the one person who still feels real in this sea of faceless shadows. He looks at me with that same concerned, perfect expression. He's a part of the script that hasn't broken yet. I try to act normal, but my eyes are darting, searching for the first sign of the infection. I tell him everything is fine, even as the weight of my multiple deaths presses down on my shoulders. The stabbing sensation from the burglar is still so fresh in my memory, a ghost of a wound, and the memory of the teeth, the pain of being torn apart. It never truly goes away. We're approaching the school, and I'm bracing myself for the moment the genre shifts from romance to horror. For a moment, he pulls me close, and the world feels almost safe again. Almost. Then, the sound of screeching tires shatters the illusion, a violent intrusion of reality. Blood sprays across my face before I even have time to understand what's happening. Everything stops. The world turns to static. This wasn't in the plan. This wasn't the tragedy I expected.
The crowd of faceless shadows starts to gather, their murmurs a dull, chaotic roar in my ears. Someone is lying in the middle of the road, twisted and broken against the asphalt. I've never seen someone die up close before. In this world, death was supposed to be a metaphor, not a mess. The atmosphere is thick with a strange, pulsing energy. The rules are changing again. I walk forward, my legs feeling like lead, drawn toward the center of the tragedy. The blood on my uniform is warm, a terrifying proof that this isn't just another part of the story. The world begins to sway, the colors bleeding together as my vision fails me. The nausea is overwhelming. I want to look away, but I'm forced to witness the end. I have to know. I have to see who the world has decided to take for me this time. Every step is a struggle against the crushing weight of the plot's new, cruel direction. It's him, my leading man, the one who was supposed to make me happy, lying dead in the street. This can't be happening. The male lead is immortal in a romance novel. He's the anchor. He was my happy ending. He was the only person in this world who actually had a face. Without him, there is no story. There is only this empty, bloody void. I look at what's left of him and I realize the world has truly gone mad. I can't take it. The horror of this broken script is more than I can bear. Panic takes over. If the hero dies, the heroine is left in a world that no longer has a purpose. The pavement is soaked in the blood of a romance that has been brutally executed. Beep, beep, beep. The alarm sounds again, a signal that the world has refused to let me stay in this tragedy. 7:30 a.m. The reset button has been pressed once more, giving me another chance I'm not sure I want. I'm back in my bed, safe and sound, while he's still out there, blissfully unaware of his fate. I grip the sheets until my knuckles turn white. I won't let him die again. I can't. The calendar hasn't changed, but my resolve has. I'm no longer just a character following a script. I have to save him. No matter what the plot demands, I have to get this story back on track. I'll fight the faceless shadows and the cruel logic of this world to keep him by my side. I'll do whatever it takes to stop the blood from spilling, even if I have to rewrite the world myself. I am Charon Eun, and I refuse to be a victim of a story that's lost its way. I will survive this romance, and I will make sure my leading man survives it with me. The morning sun is a lie, a bright facade over a world that has repeatedly tried to kill me. Jae-ha reaches out to steady me. He tells me it's dangerous to walk around in a daze, his voice full of that leading man sincerity that used to make my heart flutter. I offer a polite thanks, but my smile is a carefully constructed mask. I've heard these words before. I look at him and feel a hollow weight in my chest. This is the 16th time I've been through this exact moment. 16 times I've walked this path, and 16 times I failed to save him. The rules of this world are absolute, and they are cruel. If I die, the day simply resets. I wake up in my bed at 7:30 a.m., forced to relive the nightmare from the start. But if Jae-ha dies, everything changes. The narrative logic of this world dictates that the story cannot continue without its protagonist. When the plot is derailed, when the main character is removed from the board, things get messy. I've seen the world unravel from the rooftop, watching the chaos spread like a stain through the school grounds. The fear of the unknown is a constant companion. Every reset brings a new horror, a new way for the world to break. I am trapped in a loop of tragedy, caught between a romance that won't happen and a horror that won't end. If Jae-ha dies, I have no choice but to give up and start the day all over again. The cycle is exhausting. Every morning brings the same buildings, the same sky, and the same impossible questions. In the classroom, the mundane friction of high school life feels absurd. A classmate asks me to move my bag, unaware that the world is ending. They whisper behind my back, judging me for a personality I've outgrown through 16 lifetimes of trauma. I look at their faces and I don't see friends or classmates anymore. I see shadows. In this world of shifting rules, can you really blame me for keeping my distance? To be honest, the way they treat each other makes them feel no different from the monsters lurking in the halls. Then I hear it, a mention of a woman on the bus this morning who wouldn't stop coughing. My blood runs cold. A woman on the bus? Is that where it started? I need to know more. I remember seeing students coughing in the hallway earlier. The infection is already spreading through the school's veins. I stand up abruptly, the chair screeching against the floor. I need to find out about that woman on the bus. I corner the student who mentioned it. Panic is beginning to override my social filter. I need details and I need them now. She looks at me with wide, terrified eyes. My intensity is scaring her, but I don't have time for pleasantries. Before I can get an answer, the other students intervene, dragging the sick girl away and looking at me like I'm the monster. I'm left standing alone, the silence of the room heavy with their judgment. They don't understand the clock is ticking. They think I'm being ridiculous, but I've seen what happens when the coughing stops and the biting begins. They rush out, taking the sick girl with them, desperate to find safety in a school that has none left to offer. I reach out, but they've already closed ranks against me. I'm an outsider in my own survival story. Fine. If they won't talk, I'll find the answers myself. The nurse's office is the most likely place for clues. I head toward the infirmary, my footsteps echoing in the unnervingly quiet corridor. Each step toward the nurse's office feels like a step into the mouth of a beast. But I have to know. I see movement in the shadows. Figures darting past the frosted glass of the doors. The atmosphere is thick with dread. I stop, my heart hammering against my ribs. Something is very wrong. Suddenly, the peace is shattered. Figures burst through the doors, a frantic rush of panicked bodies. The sounds from inside are unmistakable. The wet, rhythmic noise of tearing flesh and the guttural sounds of a feast. I stand, frozen, watching the carnage. Strangely, I don't feel fear, only a grim sense of confirmation. The nurse's office has become a slaughterhouse. My only relief is that Jiha isn't among the bodies on the floor. I need to leave. Now. I turn back to the door, my survival instincts finally screaming at me to move. I grab the handle and pull, but it doesn't budge. My hands are slick with sweat as I rattle the metal. The door is blocked. Someone has piled chairs and desks against the other side, sealing me in. I pound on the glass, shouting for them to open up, but all I hear is the frantic clicking of a lock being engaged. The realization hits me like a physical blow. My classmates, the people I sat next to every day, have sacrificed me. I turn around slowly, the red shadows of the monsters closing in. The betrayal hurts more than the impending death. I dash toward the window. There's no other way out. I have to risk the jump. I look down at the second floor railing. It's a long drop, but it's my only chance to avoid the teeth behind me. I prepare myself, focusing on the landing. If I can just make it to the railing, I can survive this loop. I leap, the air rushing past my ears as I fall through the empty space between life and death. But as I look down, my hope vanishes. The courtyard below isn't empty. It's filled with the same red-eyed nightmares. I'm screwed. There's nowhere to run, and the ground is coming up fast to meet me. I hit the ground with a sickening splat, the world turning into a blur of pain and red. Through the haze, I hear them, my classmates, standing safely behind the barricade, telling themselves they did the right thing. They justified locking me in. They chose their lives over mine without a second thought. They comfort each other, ignoring the sound of the girl coughing in their midst. Their cowardice will be their undoing. The pain is white-hot, tearing through my body as the monsters find me. Not again. Please, not again. I'd rather die instantly than feel this agony for another second. The world begins to fade at the edges. Blood splatters across the floor, a grim signature on the end of this 16-hour life. The last thing I hear is their self-righteous whispers. We did the right thing. But as I die, I reach for one last thing. A piece of paper on the floor, stained with my own blood. They think they've won, but they've only given me more reason to hate them in the next life. Beep, beep, beep. The sound of the alarm is a mercy and a curse all at once. I wake up in my bed, the phantom pain of the fall still echoing in my bones. 7:30 a.m. Again? Those selfish assholes. I'll never forget the sound of that lock clicking into place. I sit up, my breath hitching in my throat. This time, I have a new goal, and it's not just survival. But I didn't come back empty-handed. Before the darkness took me, I managed to hide something. I reach into my mouth and pull out the crumpled, blood-stained paper I swallowed in my final moments. It's a disgusting, desperate move, but in this world, you do what you have to. I have a clue now, the nurse's first aid report. This paper holds the names and symptoms of the first infected. Now, the real game begins. In this world, the rules are as cruel as the monsters. To carry an item through the loop, I discovered a gruesome necessity. I have to swallow it. The phantom pain of my last death lingers, a reminder that every reset comes with a price paid in blood. Before the teeth found my flesh in the nurse's office, I managed to grab the one thing that could change everything: the nursing report. The morning light heals my body, but the trauma of being torn apart doesn't fade with the sunrise. I force the paper down, praying the system would recognize it as part of me. It was a desperate gamble. The gamble paid off. The nursing report is now in my possession, a secret weapon against the script. But simply having the information isn't enough. I have to decipher the patterns of the plague. How do I stop a world-ending event with a single sheet of paper? I need to find the source. In every previous life, Jaeha was already lost by lunchtime. I have to understand the timeline of his infection. He wasn't the origin point. The sickness began its crawl through the school much earlier than I realized. The coughing was the first sign, a subtle, rhythmic warning that the students were already turning into hollow shells. Even my own class wasn't spared. The rot was sitting right next to us, hidden behind a desk. The woman on the bus was the catalyst. Everything that's happening now traces back to that moment. I have to stay calm. Panic is a luxury I can't afford if I want to rewrite this tragedy. The cycle begins again. The bus arrives, and I step into the role of the protagonist one more time. There he is, Jaeha, the leading man who has no idea his life is a countdown to a bloody end. I have to follow the plot's skeleton while weaving my own armor beneath the surface. We walk together, sharing words that feel hollow against the backdrop of the coming massacre. He mentions a friend, Sungwon Oh, a name that sounds like any other extra in this twisted story. I maintain the mask of the cheerful heroine, concealing the dread that grows with every step. The loop has taught me that the story is flexible, but the core events are anchored in stone. I'm not entering the fray empty-handed this time. I've prepared for the shift in genre. Jaeha senses my tension, but the truth of this world is too dark for him to comprehend. The clock is ticking toward the moment everything breaks. I have to be ready. He asks to meet in the music room.
In my last life, that room became his tomb. I agree, but I'm not walking into a trap. I'm setting one of my own. I need to give him a fighting chance to survive the first wave of the outbreak. I hand him a gift. It's not a token of affection, it's a lifeline. I smile, playing the part perfectly, while my mind calculates the odds of our survival. A stun gun. It's the only way a romance lead survives a horror game. With him armed, I have a few hours of freedom to hunt the source of the infection. The school feels different now. The quiet hallways are just waiting for the first scream. I start mapping the infection's path, tracing every cough and every fever. If the nurse's office was the epicenter, I need to know exactly who entered and left. The shadows in the corner of my eye are starting to look less like people and more like predators. Every note I take brings the terrifying reality of the timeline into focus. The living and the dead are walking the same halls, and only I know the difference. I'm beginning to sense the aura of the infection before the physical symptoms even appear. In my first life, I was a victim of the script. Now, I see the gears turning behind the scenes. The quarantine was a desperate attempt by the system to contain the chaos, but it failed. I mark the precise moments where the romance story began to bleed into horror. They tried to do the right thing, but in this world, the right thing often leads to a dead end. The timeline is undeniable. Jiha's fate is sealed by lunch unless I cut the source early. I sacrificed a life to obtain this data. I won't let it go to waste. The symptoms are listed clearly: fever, coughing, and the sudden onset of nausea. I circle the common threads, looking for the one student who didn't stay in the office. If I find the one who was sent back to class, I find the carrier of the plague. The silence of the classroom is heavy as I narrow down the list of potential carriers.
An extra interrupts my thoughts, completely unaware that his life is about to end. I'm pushing myself to the limit. The loop offers no rest for the weary. The hallways were filled with the sick, and I was too blind to see the danger in my first life. The barricades were a joke. You can't lock out a monster that's already inside. Coughing and nausea, the signature of a soul being replaced by a monster. Wait, there's a name here. A name that connects the nurse's office to Jaeha's classroom. Seungwon Oh, second year, class 4. He was sent back to his room with medication. That's Jaeha's class. The infection didn't start in the music room, it was invited in. Jaeha mentioned him this morning. They were supposed to work together on a project. Seungwon is patient 0 for the second wave. He's the one who will turn Jaeha. It's already the middle of third period. The virus is spreading through that room right now. I have to move. Every second I hesitate is a second closer to Jaeha's death. I sprint out of the room, leaving the safety of the script behind me. My feet fly across the tiles. I won't let the genre change on me again. I can save him. If I take out the carrier, I can protect the leading man. If the lead survives, the world survives. That's the only rule that matters. I have to end this crappy story before it ends us. I burst into the boys' classroom, my presence a violent disruption to the status quo. The students stare at me, confused by the girl who just shattered their peaceful morning. They ask what I'm doing, but I don't have time for explanations. My eyes scan the desks, searching for the boy who is about to become a monster. There he is, Sung-won, the ticking time bomb in the middle of the room. I see the fever in his eyes. The infection is already winning. The name tag confirms it. My target is acquired. The fear is gone, replaced by a cold, cinematic resolve. I've found you, and I'm going to stop you before you take a single bite. I grab the heavy wooden chair. It's a crude weapon, but it's effective. The first strike is for every death I've suffered in this loop. The second is to ensure the horror stays buried in the ground. Blood sprays across the room, warm and real. The romance is officially dead. I don't stop. I can't stop until I'm sure the threat is neutralized. I look at Jeha, panting, my heart finally slowing down as I realize he's safe.
He's alive. I've broken the cycle of his death. But this is just the beginning. The school is a hive, and I've only killed one bee. Jiha looks at me with pure terror. He doesn't see a hero. He sees a girl covered in blood, smiling as she stands over a fresh corpse. The genre has shifted again. Jiha, please, just listen to me for 1 second. He doesn't believe a word I say. To him, I'm just a stranger acting like a lunatic. He's armed, he's terrified, and he's aiming that taser directly at me. I've never seen him look at me like that. Not in the book, and not in all our time together. The contempt in his eyes is sharp enough to cut. He doesn't see the girl he loves anymore. That's when it finally hits me. I've been looking at this all wrong. To the rest of the world, these monsters weren't just shadows or obstacles. They were people, students, friends. While I was busy playing the hero and slaughtering zombies, everyone else just saw a girl covered in the blood of her classmates. The alarm blares, dragging me back from the brink of another failed attempt. 7:30, the starting line of my personal hell. I try to act normal, walking beside him as if the world isn't about to end. Jihan notices. He always notices when I'm off, but he can never know why. I look at him, searching for a way to break the cycle. Maybe I just need to remind him who I am before the chaos starts. In the stories I used to read, a curse could always be broken by something as simple as a kiss. It's a desperate, foolish hope. But at this point, it's all I have left. I pull him close, trying to force a fairy tale ending on a horror story. The world doesn't stop for romance. The screech of tires and the blare of a horn are the only answers I get. 07:30. Again. I silence the alarm with a hand that won't stop shaking. I move through the motions like a ghost haunting my own life. I reach for the one thing that keeps track of the truth. The pages flip, a record of every time I felt my heart stop. 288. That's how many times I've watched us die. The bus is always there. It's the catalyst, the moment everything shatters. Yeha thanks me for something small, oblivious to the fact that I'm mourning him for the 100th time. I can't tell him. He wouldn't understand, and it wouldn't change a thing. He asks what's wrong, his voice full of that same gentle concern that will eventually turn to fear. I just stare at him. If I told you I've died nearly 300 times for you, would you even believe me? Would it change the plot, or is this tragedy already set in stone? I know the answer. I've already tried every variation, every word, every look. The pavement under my feet feels like a countdown. But through all those deaths, I've managed to piece together a few facts. First, the infection isn't random. The source is someone on that bus, the very same bus that almost runs me over every single morning. But every time I get on to find them, the loop closes its jaws on me. It always ends the same way: blood on the asphalt and a reset. The beep of the clock is the only constant in my existence. I've memorized the symptoms: the coughing, the fever, the sudden violent bleeding. The transformation is unmistakable. The eyes turn dark, the skin bruises, and that red energy, it's like a pulse of pure malice radiating from their bodies. I have to try again. I have to find the patient 0. I'm certain it's 1 or 2 students who get infected during that morning commute. In our class, there's a girl named Shinbi Yoon. She's just an extra in the book, someone meant to fade into the background. Quiet, gloomy, completely unremarkable. The perfect place for a monster to hide. If I could just quarantine the infected in the nurse's office, maybe I could save the school.
But I'm always too late. The infection spreads faster than I can move. Another failure. Another hallway painted red. 7:30. The numbers are starting to lose their meaning. 289. I scratched the number into the notebook. I'm exhausted. The mental toll of dying is becoming heavier than the physical pain. What is wrong with me? Why can't I solve this one simple story? When the despair gets too loud, I look at my phone. I read the original book. I tried to remember the world as it was supposed to be. A beautiful, sweet romance. A world where Jiha and I were destined for a happy ending, without any hurdles. But that world is a lie. I hurl the phone away, sick of the false promises. What's the use of a romance novel in a world of flesh eaters? I'm scared. I'm so incredibly scared that this is all there is for me. To be honest, I've been terrified from the very first loop. In my old life, even when things were hard, there were people around me. I wasn't alone. I had a place. But here, I'm isolated by a truth no one else can see.
I'm surrounded by shadowy figures, extras who don't even have faces in my mind. And the one person I desperate try to save, he just keeps becoming a monster. The loneliness is a different kind of death. It eats away at you from the inside. I learned to look away. I had to. I treated the extras like they didn't exist because acknowledging them made the horror too real. If they weren't real people, then their deaths didn't have to matter. They were just formless, faceless background noise in my personal tragedy. I focus on Jeha. I have to. He's my anchor. But wait, something is shifting. Something is wrong with him. I slap my cheeks, trying to snap out of the spiral. No, he looks normal. He's the male protagonist. He has to be okay. He's the only one on my side, the only one who matters. I can't get soft now, not after a few hundred tries. I hear the bus, the sound of my inevitable death. I feel a tap on my shoulder. This isn't part of the routine. I can save him. I have to save him. But the reality in front of me is starting to glitch, distorting the only face I care about. What if Jiha isn't my ally? What if he's part of the nightmare too? If I can't even see him clearly, then I have nothing left to hold on to. The world feels like it's breaking apart, pieces of the story falling away into static. Maybe it's better to just let it end, right here, right now. I step toward the edge, ready for the impact to finally be the last one. The bus is inches away. I'm ready. 0730. Why won't it just stop? I wake up in the same bed, under the same light, with the same crushing weight on my chest. What am I doing wrong? What is the missing piece of this puzzle? I'm trapped in a loop of my own failures, and I don't know how to escape. I look at my hands. They've felt so much blood, even if it washes away with every reset. I just want to disappear. I want the pain, the fear, and the loneliness to end. 378. I've died nearly 400 times. The alarm is a mockery now, a signal that my suffering is starting over. I don't even fight it anymore. I move like a machine. No matter what I do, no matter how hard I try, nothing gets better. I'm used to it. I'm used to the teeth and the tearing flesh. The hallways are a slaughterhouse I've walked through hundreds of times. I see them coming, the shadows turned into monsters. This time, I won't run. I'll just let it happen. But suddenly, a hand grabs me. A force pulls me back from the edge. I'm stunned. This isn't how the scene goes. No one ever helps me. A shadow, a faceless extra, is talking to me. He knows they're infected. I can't see his face, but his voice is real. He's real. He tells me there's no time to talk. He says he's found a safe place.
In a world of scripted tragedy, an unknown extra just changed the plot. And for the first time in 300 lives, I have no idea what happens next.